Dr. Dave Henry, you're heading up the team at the CSIRO that's researching virtual fencing. So that's a fence where there isn't a fence. Tell me the story.
It is exactly that. It's basically wireless fencing. So instead of having hardwire fences, livestock, whether they be cattle or sheep, wear in the first instance a collar, and they learn to associate a tone or an audio signal with a fence actually being present. So instead of needing the hardwire fence, they respond to an alert given either as a tone or a small electric shock.
So tell me about the perceived benefits of virtual fencing and what applications you would use them.
It's actually really interesting because across all the grazing industries, whether it be sheep or beef or cattle, or in fact mixed farming enterprises like sheep and wheat properties, it's the one technology that they see as a real potential game changer. Everything from protecting environmentally sensitive areas, keeping animals out of riverbanks, for example, keeping away from noxious weeds, but particularly productivity gains, things like better feed utilisation, pasture utilisation, allocating supplements better, or just rotating animals around the landscape more efficiently.
Drill down into the science a bit for me and what actually prevents the animal straying across the virtual fence line.
So you can set, the idea is that you set where the virtual fence is on your laptop or your mobile device. As the animal approaches it, the collar is actually monitoring its behaviour. And as it approaches that line, which is an invisible line, it gets an audio tone. And then if it continues to proceed, it then gets a small electrical stimulus, which is much less than an electric fence, can I just say. So within about 3 or 4 times, cattle in particular will learn to associate the audio, and actually they don't even go any further to get an electrical stimulus. They'll just respond to the audio signal.
And they literally veer off.
They just turn around, stop,
wander back,
wander around, turn back. Yeah. And if they do turn back, the system doesn't do anything. It doesn't need to because it's moved away from the fence.
Have you done a cost-benefit analysis? Fencing is a very, very expensive enterprise on any farm. So what's the cost per head, and what's the value of the time that is spent in strapping on collars?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the idea is that the collars are transferable from animal to animal. So, if you have a collar, it might then go to replacement stock, for example. So it's not a one-off collar for an animal, like an NLIS tag, for example. We work with a commercial partner that's currently developing commercial prototypes, looking at a commercial release next year. And they're flagging the first minimum viable product, as they call it, for dairy to be in the order of $90 to $100 for a collar, which is actually less than what the dairy industry pays now for just activity collars that measure heat detection, for example. In terms of benefit, we're talking about hundreds of dollars just in better feed utilisation in the dairy industry alone. If you went as a comparison to the extensive beef industry across northern Australia, where mustering is a significant cost, mustering can cost $2.50 per head per year. So it's very easy for them to recoup the cost of the technology.
It's a very, very interesting story. Tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to this kind of area of research.
Well, I guess I spent a lot of time in WA working with sheep and beef and dairy cattle over there. And as I said, it was the one need that industry said, if we can better control livestock in their grazing environment, it would have significant benefit. So we started working, CSIRO started working in about 2005 with the technology. It took about 10 years and it sort of went into hiatus a little while because we proved that we could do it. We developed all our knowledge, but the technology took a little bit to catch up, the batteries and miniaturisation and those sorts of things. So it took a bit of a while for industry and technology to catch up with the idea.